Hey there, lovely people. Welcome to Be Your Best You with Tash and Becky, your go-to hangout for all things spiritual, subconscious, and downright magical. We're here to sprinkle a little mystical wisdom into your everyday life and help you level up your reality.
Picture this as your cosmic coffee date, where we chat about the unseen world, blend in some psychology vibes and stir up the subconscious magic. Get ready to be the queen of your own reality, live a life that lights you up and have a blast doing it.
So grab your latte or your tea and let's dive into another episode of Be Your Best You, where the mystical meets the mundane and your best life awaits.
Cheers to creating magic together.
Let's do this. Hello!
Hi!
Welcome back to another episode of Be Your Best You with Tash.
And me, Becky.
Thank you all for joining us for this week's podcast episode. And this episode today is actually one that's been requested by a few of our listeners, but also one that we've wanted. It's definitely been on our list to share and to talk about, hasn't it? Because again, I feel like we say this with every episode, but it's important part of our journey, wasn't it?
It was one of the first things, wasn't it, that we got onto, especially you, and then you passed it over. But it lit us up, didn't it? It sort of gave us that.
And I know for me, it was the start of this whole spiritual journey, and also the start of my healing journey with the grief of losing my mum. So the topic that we're going to be talking about today is near-death experiences. And as I said, it is a topic very close to my heart. And I suppose maybe let's start at the beginning, why I kind of came across near-death experiences, but how it has been instrumental, and how I will always say it was the one turning point of my entire this part of my life. It is what changed. Aside from obviously losing mum, this was the turning point for my healing journey and for propelling me forward into where I am now, which is a place that I never thought I would be, and as strange and as odd as it is to say, I'm happier now than I was back before I lost my mum. Which is really weird to say, but probably conveys the
just the importance of what you found in spiritual and the comfort, life-changing. To be able to say that you feel happier within yourself now. I mean, that shows you the power of it, doesn't it?
And it was all thanks to coming across and absorbing myself in near-death experiences. And actually, I had heard of near-death experiences before, I got into any of this, before I lost my mum, because as obviously you guys will all realise now, spirituality, even though I didn't know it, and the other side and the unseen world has always been a part of my life. But I just didn't realise it. So I was actually interested in near-death experiences. It wasn't the first time I had heard of the term, but I'd never gone deep into it.
No.
So obviously, when I lost mum, I had that, like I spoke about in the first episodes that we had done, I had that kind of moment where I just thought, I cannot accept that there is nothing after this life. And there has to be something more, and that's why I set about kind of trying to prove that to myself and to find evidence for this to be the case. And bearing in mind, I was of the complete opposite view before that. I didn't think there was anything. I was just like, nope, there's nothing.
Die,
there's no God. That's it. Black space. You
your
failed
medical
to exist.
Training, that's what they tell you.
All of that, just no. So the near-death experiences were one of the first things I came across when I was looking to prove this, and it makes sense, doesn't it? Because obviously the very concept of a near-death experience is that for the most part you die, your body does die, but then you've come back to life, and you can, when you come back, when you're brought back, you can then actually remember the experience that you had when you were supposedly dead. And the thing with the near-death experience is that there have been so many studies now, so many studies and proof that it's not, because a lot of medical people will try, or cynics or whatever, will try and explain it away for whatever reason. Medics would say that, it's an effect of when your brain loses oxygen and you have hallucinations, all of that. And I don't actually even want to go into talking about all the reasons people use for it not to be true, because they actually haven't been proven. People still don't know. People can't give you a concrete reason why near-death experiences happen in the scientific world, which states to me that there isn't one. It's because they can't, because there isn't one. And yet on the other side of things, there is evidence over and over and over again that people who are experiencing these near-death experiences are coming back and telling the exact same story. They've got the same characteristics. There's so many things that are repeated. Even though every near-death experience is different, there are so many things that are repeated by countless amounts of people now, that if it was anything else, you would just say, this has got to be true. There's too much evidence.
If you were doing a scientific study with all those people, you would be, categorically, this is real.
And in fact, as I said, there are now studies that actually prove that that something else is happening here. This like your consciousness basically continues after your body dies. And that's the whole point of this. That's what I was trying to prove, and that's what finding out about near-death experiences ultimately proved to me. But in the process, it gave me so much comfort. It gave me so much hope, not just because of the fact that it was showing that there is something after this and that my mum didn't just go into oblivion, never to be seen again, but also all the things that we'll talk about in a minute that come up in near-death experiences, that they're really comforting as well. And they were the first kind of spiritual concepts and that kind of got me towards thinking how I could use it to help me moving forward in my life, how I could use it as kind of hope that there is something else out there, that unseen world does exist, and it's there to be, it's there to help you if you will allow it. So should we talk about like kind of what people experience, or what I've found that happens when you have a near-death experience? Okay. So I think there is not probably one single near-death experience that I haven't heard. If someone's spoken about their near-death experience, I think I've probably heard it. I've listened to so many. So it's like I've done my own research, I've done my own research paper, and I can almost tell you I will start this off by saying I've never had a near-death experience. So I'm not talking from my own experience here. I am talking from hearing and listening to probably at this point nearly thousands of near-death experiences. I got obsessed with it. And then, just to mention as well, obviously I trained as a past life hypnotherapist as well. And then I started taking people through their past lives. And obviously part of the past life regression, you take them to their death scene. And then I take them on, you've experienced it, haven't you?
I did.
So you've actually experienced a near-death experience in hypnosis. Not that you probably remember it.
No, little snippet.
I
can see.
So then when I was doing these regressions and taking people to their death scene and then on from that, I was hearing them tell me the exact same things in the same way that I would heard of from the near-death experiences in real life. Exactly. And so, for me, near-death experiences are real. There is no question. There is no question. And because of that, I have such a strong belief in the unseen world, in the help that the unseen world provides us, in the fact that when this body of mine dies, I'm not gone and I'm going to go somewhere else, and that place is a lot nicer than this place. And it's just so comforting. It removes the fear of death. And we were talking about this the other day, weren't we?
Yes.
When you don't have a fear of death, life changes.
Yeah. You're not coming from fear, are you? You're coming from love. You know, you'll do things that you wouldn't have done before. You just really learn how to live again properly. You know, but it's I can't remember what I was going to say. I was going to say something about you getting it when you got into it. Oh, with the grief, how comforting it is to know that actually when you are grieving, but you're grieving for yourself, and that's not grieving for your loved one who you feel has, like you said, could have just gone into oblivion, just doesn't exist anymore, or was in pain, or was scared. You've got all those emotions, haven't you? And once you got into the near-death experiences, it showed you, you know, you don't have to be sad for that person. You have to grieve the loss of them, but don't be sad for them, because they can see you whenever they want, can't they? So they're not missing you, and they've gone to this wonderful place. The more you, like you say, the more you hear about the NDEs, and everyone sort of seems to, every experience is different, but they feel the same things, don't they?
Yeah, that you are so right there. It was almost like it took a weight off of my shoulders. Of the grief.
You could half it almost, because you were then just grieving for you, not for any pain or suffering for your mum. You could think, she's happy.
And she can still see me. At least she can still see me.
She's not crying. She's not lonely. She can come see you whenever she wants.
And again, then that's comforting to think that my mum could be there whilst I'm grieving. Because, well, I'm grieving because she's not here, and no, I can't see her in the physical, but she is still here. And that was something that I would always tell myself in my really tough times when I really missed her. I would think, but I'm struggling here. If she's there, she can come and see me. And she got her hand on my shoulder, or she's, you know, anything to think that she's there, that's comforting, and that would get me through my toughest parts of my grief. And
the belief that she is there, which is what that helped to bring you, the NDEs helped to bring you, you know, that otherwise there's always still a little doubt sometimes, isn't it? If you hadn't explored it like you had, you would hope that she was there, but you'd be like, oh, but she's probably not, you know, bat it away.
Exactly. And I think as well, because I was open to that belief of her still being there, and again, we've spoken about this in other respects in our podcast, but when you open up that awareness and you open up another belief, you're expanding your consciousness. You are allowing other things to come in through this lens. So before, if I had a lens on of mum's gone, she's not here, I'm never going to communicate with her again, you are blocking a whole reality where that loved one, for me, for my mum, but if any of you guys have lost anyone, your loved one is trying to get through to you, and if you have this lens on of what they can't do that, you're going to miss so much from them. And don't worry about it, they'll still be doing it, and they'll still be there with you whether you realize it or not and acknowledge it or not. But how wonderful would it be if you could change that lens, switch it over to a belief that says, I believe that they're still there, and with me and guiding me and supporting me and here for me whenever I need them. Oh wow, then you open up that kind of reality. And that's what happened with me. And obviously, as you know, then we had loads of things that happened that were my mum, without a doubt. I mean, some of them were so obvious you didn't need to have the belief glasses on to know, because it was just so obvious, like stuff flying off the shelves, telly's turning on, you can't. But again, even so, if you had that belief, you'd explain it away. The fact that I then believed that it was my mum allowed me to become more aware of the subtler things. So I found, again, this is very personal, but I'm like happy to share it, because I just think the more awareness people can have, the more you're going to experience these magical things and these comforting things that get you through the tough times in your life. And that's, you know, I'll hold that with me for the rest of my life. Whenever I have a tough time in life, I will always go back to the fact that my mum's here with me, who all my loved ones, you know, now obviously my auntie, she's there as well with me. And So going back to what I was going to say, it's quite personal, but I found that every time I spoke to my mum, because I was more aware now than not of the big, the crazy big signs, like she's turning the TV on, stuff's getting chucked off, surfaces. But I became so hyper aware that I realised every time I spoke to my mum when I really needed her, I would feel a tickle on the side of my jaw. Do you remember? Yes. And actually, funnily enough, I had that last night. The first time in ages, because I actually opened up my awareness again. And this is where I've learned that you can switch it on and off almost, and how your awareness and your focus is so key. But yeah, I used to feel it, and it was just a lot every time I spoke to her. And I tried to just explain that one away for quite a while, and I couldn't. And it got to the point where I'd expanded my awareness so much that I would then become aware of this feeling when I was just going about my everyday life. But you can bet your boots it was a time when I needed some kind of confirmation, or I needed a bit of comfort or love. There was always something specific that was happening at the time that I felt that tickle. And this is just an example of how when you really can change your belief system and therefore open up your consciousness, a whole new world, this unseen world becomes available to you, and you can use it to your advantage. I've gone off on a tangent there, but I think that's an important tangent.
Yeah, definitely, because that's what led you to all of that. That opened up your belief to enable all these other things to come pouring in, and then you've almost since sort of like being connected with your mum, you've opened yourself up to connect with other things, haven't you? So you're not, even before it was really just your mum. Now it's just, you don't even know where it's all coming from now, do you? I mean, I'm sure she's got a lot to do with all of it, but it's coming from other directions now.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is all thanks to the NDEs and you getting, that is what got you on the hook.
Yes.
And it all made sense to you, that, like you say, the evidence was there.
And it's a journey. I didn't just wake up and just be like, right, now I believe in NDEs and now I believe all of this. It was a process, and it was probably a good, the first probably 8-9 months of after losing mum that I had absorbed myself in that. So it is all a journey. You can't expect to just change your beliefs like that. The more you do it, the more you kind of get to prove and see evidence and be open, like I said, to experiencing things. And it shows you the evidence is there for you to all find. And so on your point, I do just want to say, obviously the NDEs for me helped with my grief. It helped me heal in so many ways with my grief. And so if anybody listening is going through grief at the moment, or has gone through grief and is still feels like some healing needs to occur, please listen to NDEs. There was a book that I found early on by a lady called Anita Morjani.
We love Anita.
And she had a near-death experience. She had stage 4 cancer, lymphoma. She had lumps. Her lymph nodes were the size of I don't know, it was ridiculous, bigger than oranges. I can't remember what size she compared it to, but it was huge. She weighed nothing. She was a skeleton. She was literally dying, and then she did die. So she was in hospital, her family were there, and she died. And then she had this incredible experience, near-death experience, which she has been able to detail and obviously write this book about. And she learned so many things, and it's great because the story starts off with how she was before she got the cancer. Even it starts from her childhood. So you go through her childhood, which I love, because obviously at the time I hadn't trained as a hypnotherapist, but now knowing what I know, and with childhood trauma and how we create our own illnesses and our thoughts create our reality, etc., when you listen to her story and what her NDE helped her realize was that she was responsible for her cancer.
That's
it. But she, and again, I've said these words before, and some people might find that jarring, triggering, just want to throw it out in the trash, and that's totally fine. But if you read her story, you will realize what that actually means. It's not about blame. It's just about how your thoughts are so powerful, and you must be careful with what you think and the stories you tell yourself, because your body will react to that, and you will manifest disease in your body without a doubt, which is what she did. But she explains it so beautifully. You can see in real life example of how that occurred, and then her NDE showed her the truth, in inverted commas, of who we are, of the power we hold, of how she got to where she was, but also how she can now go back and live her life in a different way. And so anyway, that book, it's called what's the title?
What it was called?
Dying to be Me.
Oh, well done.
Dying to be Me.
Well
yeah
done.
So if you're interested in near-death experiences, read that book, Dying to be Me. I won't say anything else about it. Read it.
It's so good, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the podcast as well. Listen to a lot of podcasts, didn't you? And I've listened to a few as well.
Oh, the podcast was what I was mostly doing, listening to. Not her she doesn't have a podcast. Does she have a podcast?
I'm not sure.
No, you can find her on Facebook and Instagram. But it was just podcasts of that spoke about NDEs and had people on the shows. There's quite a few of them. Just type in near-death experiences. Loads of podcasts will come up. That's what I was listening to. If you're not a reader. So that is a brilliant book to read if you're going through grief right now, or you still feel like you need to address some kind of grief, specifically of losing people, because grief can be about losing anything, but specifically for losing people, then that is a book that I would recommend reading, and I have recommended it to a lot of people who I've spoken to since I went through the grief process myself, who are grieving, and they have all said exactly the same thing and found it healing. But the reason I said that again is also because although the NDEs helped me in my grieving journey, and will help whoever is listening who's going through grief, if you're not going through grief, or you haven't gone through grief and you haven't experienced the loss of anyone yet, NDEs, don't write them off. Please still listen to this episode, and please still go out and find some more about them, because as you know, we've both said, you haven't gone through it, and they've changed the way you see the world as well, haven't they? Because it helped me with the grief, but then I moved past that and was able to use it to develop my next level of my spiritual journey, and take me on further, and start opening up and changing my beliefs towards what this world really is, and what's really going on in the unseen world, that it exists and what's going on, and then allow me to go further into all the other things that I've done, finding about hypnotherapy, doing the helping others with it, and then learning to create my own life and reality, and deal with my traumas and my human side of things, so that I can be my best you. Honestly. And again, same for you, isn't it?
What with the NDEs? They were just so comforting to me. Most of us are afraid of dying, aren't we, or losing people, and I think that just helped so much, listening to people's stories and reading Anita's book. It's just such a comfort, because once you remove that fear of death, obviously no one wants to lose anybody, but it's, we even used to talk about, didn't we, before your mum passed away, how terrified we were at losing our mums. So we all feel like that, don't we? But to know that, okay, but it's just mine I have to deal with. I don't have to deal with theirs too, because they're fine. They're better than fine. They're doing better than you. They're better than they've ever been. So think, well, I can deal with myself. That's okay. We can work through that. And it just sort of set all those things in motion for me, to be able to let go of the fear of how am I going to cope with that, and just such a comfort. So, and that's someone who's not going through grief, just wanted some reassurance, and be able to drop the fear and not have to live in fear, because it's so different when you can come out of that. You make different decisions, don't you?
Yeah. And we all know that we're going to lose someone. We all know we're going to die, and we all know we're going to lose
just looms.
people.
It just hangs over your head. Yeah.
And although it doesn't make losing someone any easier, it does make, because unfortunately I then had the experience of that. So I lost my mum, and then almost 2 years later I lost my auntie, who was my second mum, and also like my best friend, and who I was so close to, in more ways closer to her than I was to my mum. So it was a horrific loss. When was that? Last year? And when I lost her, the grief was still the grief of losing that person, but it was different. And I know she's my mum, and I know my mum was my first major loss, so it's going to be different anyway. But honestly, it was so comforting to already have that belief that she's all right. You know, I was at her funeral laughing because I was just imagining her watching the funeral and thinking what she'd be thinking and what she'd be saying, knowing that she was 100% there. And I'm just looking at little Robin out there like while we're talking. But I knew in those times, don't get me wrong, I was devastated at her funeral, devastated, and at the same time as crying and my heart breaking, I'm comforted by the fact that I totally believe that she sat there next to me, whispering stuff in my ear. So I can say from experience, unfortunately, that having this belief that the NDEs give you can really help you deal with losing people who are very, very close and very, very special to you. So with that being said, I think I've explained why they're so important and why I want to share them, and how we've just found that they have changed the way we see the world. Let me just talk about the kind of commonalities in a near-death experience and why it's so comforting. So everybody says that when they first have that near-death experience, they know they're going to die, like they're feeling all the feelings, but a lot of the time, especially in car crashes and stuff like that, I mean, we've been talking for 20 minutes. I could speak so long about near-death experience. I've just realised already I might need to do a part 2. So I don't want to rush it. So I might just go through it with what I want to say, and then if we run out of time, we'll do a part 2. Okay, so I'm smiling and getting excited because we're talking about people dying here, but they came back, so don't worry, and it's all lovely. It's just all so lovely. So a lot of the times with car crashes and like traumatic accidents, a lot of people say that they don't feel it. They come out of their body before the actual impact happens, or whatever it happens. So I feel like that my mum's death was traumatic. I don't need to talk about it, but it probably wasn't so traumatic for her. Maybe I don't know. It's traumatic for people watching, but that upset me a lot when I first heard how she died. The way in which she died, it was very disturbing. I think I had a bit of PTSD from that, honestly, and I worked that out myself with the hypnotherapy and everything that I know of. But when I heard that, and I kept hearing these things from the near-death experience, straight away I just thought, well, she wasn't in her body. No. She didn't have to experience that. No. She, a lot of the times they say my soul knew it was coming, and I was whipped out, and I was watching it, but I wasn't in it, and I wasn't feeling it. And that gave me comfort, because I'll never know I will know when it happens, like when we get over the other side. But for now, I'll never know whether she really, truly did suffer. But I choose to believe that she could have come if she wanted to, because that was another thing. They do say you have a choice. Some souls want to, this isn't what I've always heard from NDEs as well. This is from my other knowledge, from reading other things as well. Some souls choose to experience the actual act of dying because they want to learn something from it. And that fits in with what I've learned from doing my past life regressions. A lot of people tell me when they're in their past life regressions that they wanted to experience that death because there was something for them to learn about. So again, whatever way you look at it, it's all okay. It's all fine. Because you don't have that traumatic experience, die, and then that's the last thing you're left with, and then you disappear into oblivion. It's all planned. You all have it, and believe me, there is something so much better waiting for them just after that.
I think the love that they feel and the relief they feel, that people say, don't they, it's very hard to decide to come back.
Because they get to the other side and they're like, don't make me go back.
No.
Don't make me. And they've got, their kids there, they know their children are there, they know their husband's there or their parents. They also feel, which I'll talk about in a minute, all of their feelings, and yet still they're like, don't send me back. I wanna stay. And obviously they do decide to come back eventually because they're telling us their stories, but there's usually a reason why they'll want to learn something else. They still have something else to do. They've come back because they were on a mission, a bit like Anita Moorjani. She came back and she needed to spread the awareness. And, she's very well known now in the spirituality world. And so but it's always your choice. It's always your choice whether you want to come back or whether you want to go. So anyway, so that's I think that's something that I find really comforting. And if anyone's listening who's lost someone in tragic circumstances, know that is what a lot of people who have NDEs, and I've listened to some horrific NDEs that have happened to people that have come back, which is insane in itself. Like, they should not have been able to come back. And most of the time, again, like Anita Moorjani, the doctors are phased. They they just call it a miraculous recovery. They don't like to go into it, do they? No. And this happens an awful lot with near-death experiences. Okay, so they've come out of their body, and the first thing is the realization of, I'm still me. So my body's down there, but I'm still me. I still feel like me. That must be mind-blowing.
Oh, it must.
But also, like, isn't that comforting to know that when you leave here, you're still you. Like, this part of you that is you inside you now, which I think is the soul, is still there. It's consciousness. Although people will say they feel so much lighter. All of the heaviness of earth, all of our worries, and I kind of tend to think about that as all of our limiting beliefs, all those things, the programming that we're kind of constantly in our healing journey trying to remove, they're all gone. They all leave because you just become this pure consciousness, this pure light that you are, this energy. It's what we're talking about. Everything is energy. Your consciousness is energy, and it's now just vibrating at a different level because your body, your physical body is denser, like vibrating at a lower level, and then you just leave that and you're vibrating at a higher level, which feels amazing, apparently. And without a doubt, they all say there's just so much love and peace in this time, this place. Once they come out of this body, there's so much. They just feel so much love and this kind of peace that they have never felt on earth before. Another thing that they all say is that, so obviously they have awareness, so now they can see what's going on. They can tell you what's happening, like if they're being resuscitated, or they can tell you what the doctors are talking about. They can tell you what they're wearing and kind of everything that's going on in the room.
Or I remember Anita, bring back to Anita's book, I think it was, couldn't she see her brother on the plane?
So that's what I was just going to say. So not only can you see what's going on in the room, you are then aware of what's going on outside the corridor. What's going on with someone one of your family members who's coming over to see you on the plane. And you can be aware of them and you can feel their feelings. So they say that they can know what they're thinking. And a lot of them say they can hear the doctors saying, or the paramedics or whatever, we're not going to save this one's gone, we're done.
And that's why they say it's very important, don't they? If you find someone on the road that's had an accident, you talk to them positively. Like, you're going to be okay. Come back and all that, but not, oh God, I think they're dead. No, this is no done. Good. Exactly. Because they can hear you.
100%. And this, again, I think this is a good example of how you can kind of get your head around consciousness. Because consciousness is awareness,
Yeah.
And we have that now in us. We have this consciousness, this awareness, but it's really hard to distinguish it between our physical senses and this human body, right? But once you come out of the body and you are just pure consciousness, it's why you can understand that you can see what's going on. Well, I say see, but you're not seeing because you've got no eyes, right? And they say that they have 360-degree vision. It's not like they're just looking down at one scene of the room. They can see everything around them. They can see above, through the ceilings above and up into the roof. They can see someone who's miles away on a plane. Not only can they see, and I'm doing, for anyone who's not watching the video, I'm doing inverted commas, but not only can they see, they can hear. They can feel. They are, and this is the awareness. This is the pure awareness, because you're not using our senses anymore. We're so limited with this human body and our senses. Once you pop out of it, you are just awareness. And you have awareness of everything, which again gives me comfort, because it's how you can understand that your loved ones who have passed away can be with you and be with your dad or your sister or on another bloody planet in another dimension at the same time, because we are awareness. And where we focus our awareness, we can, when we're in that state, we can become aware of it. Does that make sense?
It does, because I suppose it's when you become consciousness, it's who you're connected to, so you can tune in to those connections to see what you want to be able to see. So you're not overwhelmed by the whole world, seeing everything. It's just what you want to attune to. It's up to you, I guess.
And that you can take back down to quantum science, quantum physics, with entanglement, the theory of entanglement, that once you know, all of our atoms have at some point been together, and so they will remain together. So there were experiments done with some atoms or, you know, particles that were together once and then separated over huge distances, and when something happened to one, it happened to the other one on the other side of the bloody earth. And that is, again, what you can use that with your loved ones. You are entangled with them quantumly. Your particles are entangled with them.
And then you've just said it made it make sense. But how can you argue with that?
They are there. They're entangled with you. They can change their focus, and they can be with you at any time. And bearing in mind, again, they can hear you because they don't have ears. They have your awareness on you, and you speak to them. You want to talk to them. You need their help. Say it, and they will know. They don't have to be next to you, like hanging around you all the time. They don't have to be like haunting your house. They just have their focus of awareness is on you. So again, I'm trying to kind of like take the kind of bits of the NDE and then put them together with how it can help you to feel comfort and also build your belief in the unseen world. Okay, so there you have this like kind of awareness. Then, you know, this is where all NDEs are tailored to the person that's experiencing it. And from what I have gleaned from my you know, like experimenting and my knowledge of listening to everything, is that, again, we create our reality here in this world. It's no different when we leave our bodies. We are still creating our reality. We're just doing it on a different plane, a different dimension, a different level, however you want to, whatever words you want to use. So whatever you expect to create, you're going to create it. So if, I guess the best example to give here is if you are a religious person, you're a Christian, a lot of Christians might expect Jesus to be there for them. Or if you're Catholic, potentially maybe some angels, not just Catholic, you know, not some people can believe in angels, but do you know what I mean? Like if you have a certain religious belief, it's probably more than likely going to be tailored to that. You know, someone's idea of peace and beauty might look like a green garden with loads of like grass and fields and hills, but somebody else's might be on a lake fishing. You know, like you will get shown and taken to whatever feels good and comfortable to you, what gives you those feelings of love, peace, and just everything good, basically.
Yeah.
And so that's what you typically see. It's tailored. However, there are still some things that are kind of quite similar in everybody's.
Right.
So then comes in, like, they've had enough of looking at what's going on around them and being aware of what's going on around them, and all of a sudden they start feeling this kind of pull towards something, sometimes towards a light, sometimes towards a tunnel, and this tunnel can be black a lot of the time. And again, this is where I experienced this in my past life regression sessions. The same thing happens. They get, this is what happens. They get taken, they get pulled, drawn towards this place. And so I'm sure we've all heard of the tunnel, haven't we? Going, head to the light, go towards a tunnel.
That's right.
You've heard it for a reason, because people are talking about it. People have experienced it. A lot of people. Not everyone, by the way, but there's always some form of, now it's time to go somewhere else, be taken away. It never feels horrible. It can sometimes feel a little bit disorientating, because people say it's quite fast, and it's almost like you don't, you are being pulled, so you don't necessarily have a choice, but it feels good. You're not scared.
No.
And you go into this, if you go into this black, this tunnel, this dark space, the black is never scary.
No.
The black is just calm. It's just peace. And even if you're on your own, everyone just says they feel totally at peace, and they feel this immense love, this a love that they cannot even describe, that they've never experienced, even with the people on earth that they love the most, their children, their loved ones, their partners, husbands, wives, whatever. That's really overwhelmingly similar in all NDEs, which, like you were saying, don't worry about your loved ones that have passed away. They're okay, they're happy, because they're experiencing that peace, that love. And then you get the bit where you have people come to meet you. And again, this is where it can differ. But for the most part, people say it's their mums, dads, grandparents, they're the special people to them, their pets. And beings that they don't necessarily, now they could have all or some of these, but there's always someone there that's radiating love and acceptance. And everybody says, if I could have £1 for the amount of times I've heard this, I'd be a very, very rich person. Everyone says when they get to this place, this feeling, it feels like home. They say that's the real place. That's their home. That's what feels right. And everything on earth, that wasn't, I've got tingles all over my legs. That wasn't real, but that's where, and it's familiar. It's like, oh, it's this place, I'm back. And again, I have had so many clients in past life regressions say that exact same thing to me. That's when they start crying. I've had so many people laying on that couch crying when they get to that part, because they just say it's so beautiful, it's so much love, and I can feel it. It's just, I want to experience that. I'm ready to experience that. I'm like, not now, but when I'm ready, I'll be like, I'm ready for the love.
Where we're going.
Yeah, take me home. So yes, so there's that, and then obviously you meet your loved ones, and you have reunions, and that's lovely. Now, bear in mind, near-death experiences, you haven't crossed over the threshold. There's always a part where they'll say you can't go any further. If you go any further, you're not going back. And that's where you make the choice. And I think sometimes, like, that's where their loved ones will stop them, and say you've got to stop here. But so if it will also go back to the beings that they see, sometimes they're angels, sometimes they don't have any form, sometimes they're just light. People describe it in all different ways, but they always say they feel like they've known them forever. They feel like there's no judgment, that they love them, that they feel calm and peaceful with them, and it's just all love. It just, the word love is spoken so many times when recalling NDEs. It's like, it's quite lovely. It's quite lovely. So, and they'll always guide you, like they'll take you, that no one's scared. No one's like wants to get back. No, they are, for the most part, they're like, oh, where are we going? This is fun. This is lovely. I love this. This is right. And then I'm just looking at the time. We've been talking for 43 minutes. you get taken to a life review. And maybe some of you have heard of a life review, maybe not, but in essence, the life review is where you get shown your life, like what you did, what happened, the things. But what's really important and what everybody says is that they don't just watch the life review, they feel it. They feel their own feelings, but they also feel the feelings of the other people involved. So whether it's like, you know, difficult situations, whether they were in inverted commas again, I'm going to say the wrong, whether other people were wronging them, they get to, in the life review, you get to experience everything, the feelings of everything. So you get to see from everybody's point of view, and this is obviously where you start learning about compassion and understanding, and you open up and see through kind of the beliefs, and that we're all souls trying to learn and grow, and that these people that came down and potentially were awful to you and did terrible things to you did that to help you, did it to teach you a lesson. And actually, like we were talking about in the soul contracts episode, you agreed to that. But you also learn about yourself. Like you learn, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I didn't realize me saying that would have had that effect on that person. And people always say it's the small thing. It's never these big, massive great things that we all think that we should be doing down here. It's always the small things that are the most important, like smiling at a stranger when you're at the checkout, you know, or just helping someone with their bags, just opening a door for someone. The small things are these massive things when you come into your life review. And what I cannot stress enough is that everybody says the same thing. There is no judgment. There is no judgment.
You were the only one that's judging you.
You're judging you, and judging is a harsh word, because when you're there, it's not coming from a place of judgment. It's coming from a place of, did I learn those lessons? Oh, I could have done better. You know,
I think you're probably detached from it, aren't you? But you are.
Well, you are, but you are also feeling it.
Yes.
But you understand that it isn't about, you know, there isn't this judgmental God who's going to send you down to hell because you haven't fulfilled this and this, and you've done that, and you know, you should have done this. It isn't about that. It's just about, what did you learn? Did you learn the things you wanted to learn? What do you need to go back and learn next time? And also, what can you learn from this life review as well? Because this is something that the near-death experiencers come back with. This is where they have their knowledge that they come back with, and the love that they come back with. So a lot of near-death experiences, when they come back, they are changed.
Because they've done the life review.
They get to that stage, do they? Yeah, a lot of the time, because they've done the life review. Not always, you know, not everybody has the life review. This is very common, but not everybody has everything. But just being in that other place, that unseen world that we'll call it now, and feeling the love, and it's like they get a download. So it's like, you know, everything, you understand everything in that place. And sometimes a lot of them say they're frustrated because when they come back, they can't remember a lot of it. Like consciously, they can't remember it. It's very frustrating because they know they learn everything. But they do come back with this knowledge that we are all one. It's all love. You know, we are all here to learn to be more loving and learn to be more compassionate. They come back just a better version of themselves. And some of them, when they've died, will be the first to admit they weren't very nice people for whatever way, you know, but they come back completely changed, and they understand, you know, and they see the world in a different way, and they are able to then go, obviously, and change their lives and change others around with them. They also say they come back with, a lot of people come back with kind of psychic abilities. Different, you know, clairvoyance, or they become mediums. They can hear, you know, the other side. A lot of people say, like, they mess with watches. You know, they can't, their watches go haywire. They can't wear watches, or their phones always break because it's like something happens with the magnetics, their frequency, their energy field. I think that when they go over there, this is just a theory of mine, but I think that their frequency raises, and then they come back, that frequency, that vibration stays, and it's quite high, and it messes with all this like lower vibrational stuff.
Makes sense.
So I feel like that's like a brief kind of rundown, but it's not brief. It's 48 minutes worth. Oh my gosh. I'm trying to think, because I don't know whether it's worth doing another part, but I'm trying to think if there's anything else can you think of anything else that I've said? A lot of people say about the gardens, don't they? That and the colours.
Oh.
Like the colours that they see over that side are like nothing they could describe here. They can't even, I mean, loads of people say that there's just no language to explain the feelings that they have over there and the beauty of there. But the colours, a lot of people, and the music, they say they hear sounds is just something like angelic, like celestial, like that we just don't have down here. So many people say that. So many people.
Yeah, I've heard that about the colours especially. And I quite like, you know, how I hear a lot, everyone looks down at their body and they just think, like no attachment, my body, get me back in there. It's just, look, bless. Yeah. Anyway, bye.
Yeah. And that's so true. And people say that in the NDEs, and people also say that in my past life regression.
Right.
Like, oh, God. Ooh.
Yeah.
Because it's just our meat soup.
She said it, everyone.
That's especially for you, Bex, and one of my particular clients who I know loves that. So it is just a meat soup.
I stopped myself from saying that earlier.
Did, but I thought I was going to say it anyway. I just can't help myself. But it's true, you just have complete detachment because that body, this life is such a small, tiny, in a big part of the thousands of lives you've lived and are going to live. And actually they're all happening at the same time, but we won't get into that right now because that's a whole nother thing. But yeah, it is just all I can say over there. I mean, I think that the most important thing that I wanted to get across was that obviously a lot of people get told information and knowledge as well. So you have the life review, but then there's also, if there's a being that comes, whether that is a loved one or a being that a lot of people describe them as being robed, sat around a table. I think there's usually 12. I've heard this a lot of times from people in NDEs, from people in my past life regressions. It's always like a council, and they are your council, and this is linked with the life review, and they are there to just help you and guide you. Again, no judgment here, but they are involved in, you know, when you create the life that you're going to live, when you set it all up, and then when you go back and you finished and you have the life review. Bear in mind, a lot of my past life regressions aren't NDEs. Obviously, they did actually die, so we go into more detail in the past life regressions. NDEs don't necessarily go that far because they can't cross that boundary. But yeah, I'm just trying to think if there's anything else that is important for NDEs. I'm sure I'll think of loads.
And I just think it'd just be such a good idea to get into that and have a listen to all these different stories on the podcast and see where it can take you. You know, we just found it so interesting. It sparks your interest initially, doesn't it? And then it just leads you on to, oh, well, hang on a minute, this is all starting to make sense. And then it snowballs, and then, you know, here we are 4 years later. Yeah,
exactly. And even though I don't listen to NDEs anymore, I'm always forever grateful for every single person that has taken the time to share their NDEs so that I could it changed my life. It's so brave, and it changed my life. And if it wasn't for these people, then I wouldn't be where I am today. I did remember one thing I just wanted to say, because it's, again, like you said, go and research. This is an introduction to near-death experiences, and basically our way of saying, please look into them more, because it's going to really help shift your beliefs. And again, like this, having these beliefs in the unseen world and the bigger picture, and knowing who you truly are and what you're capable of, and knowing that this life is just a blink of an eye, and you've got some goals that you want to achieve, that you set yourself, and you want to get them done. And the best way to do that is to understand all of this. Because then you can actually live your human life in an crazy, credible, magical, fantastic way that you could only dream of right now. And that's why we want to share this, isn't it? It's not just about the interesting, magical, spiritual stuff. You use this stuff in your earthly, human, physical existence, because you're not here for long, guys, and you want to get those things ticked off so that when you go into your real life review and you're not coming back, you can look and go, oh yes, I've just aced that life, woohoo. So that's why you need to go and look into near-death experiences, please, if you want to change your beliefs and help yourself kind of have the belief that we now have that helps us. But I do just want to say as well, just to kind of like a few more little facts that are going to convince you, if you haven't already been convinced or aren't already believing that NDEs are real and after, life after death. Hospitals put up pictures. They have a lot of hospitals have like false ceilings, and this is all part of the experiments that are being done, so people are taking it seriously. And they'll put on top of this false ceiling, so you can't see it in the emergency rooms, they'll put like a picture. Okay, when people have near-death experiences in these emergency rooms and they come out of their body, like we said about the awareness and having the awareness of everything, they can see that picture on the ceiling, and they'll come back and the people will ask them, what's the pic? Did you see anything? Did you see any pictures? And they'll be able to tell them what it is. How can they do that if they are dead? Because science states that if you're dead, you haven't got any brain function, you can't possibly see anything. But also, if you're laying on the bed, how are you going to see a picture on the ceiling? And I'll tell you one more thing along that vein. There have been quite a few near-death experiences where the person who had the near-death experience was blind and had been blind from birth.
Wow.
When they had their near-death experience, they could see. And someone, when she was coming out of her body and she was leaving the scene and being pulled up, like I said, she was being pulled up out of the hospital, and she kind of came out of the hospital, was going up towards the sky, and she noticed that there was a blue sneaker, on a window ledge of in this obscure place in the hospital that obviously nobody can see from. Well, she definitely can't see it because she was blind, but nobody would be able to see that anyway. And she saw it. When she came back, she said, I could see. She said, there's a blue trainer on a windowsill. And they went and they found it.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. And there's been other things that I've read from people who are blind, that have seen things that they've never seen before, and they've said they've actively seen it. Like, you can't explain that away. But also I think that's wonderful as well, because if you have anybody in your life who is disabled or, really kind of like struggling in that kind of in this physical life, please know that it's just this body, and when they leave, they are perfect. Everyone is perfect when they leave, and that's really comforting as well, isn't it? Because a lot of people say that when they see their loved ones, I'm going off again, but a lot of people say when their loved ones appear to them, they look amazing, like they're looking in their best state. A lot of the time they're in their kind of like prime years, and they're radiant, and they look, healthy and happy, because we get to do that when we leave. Like, it's just a body anyway, and by the way, they don't actually have that body, they're just appearing to you as them from this life, because that's what makes sense to you. You've just come out of that life. But obviously when we're over that side, we don't have bodies, we're just energy, we're just light, and we can kind of project ourselves however we want to project ourselves. But again, let's go down a whole nother rabbit wormhole, isn't it?
Sounds
and
good,
but yeah. But anyway, I think I'm going to stop talking now. If anybody wants to hear more about NDEs or has any specific questions, I could speak about it for ages, as you probably realise. So do let us know in the group. Come over into our Facebook group. Details are in the show notes. And just let us know what you'd like to hear more of. More than happy to continue this chat. And I also want to say before we go that I have had, as I said, this was a listener request, and I had someone contact me, and actually I did a past life regression for her before. I just told Becky this before we start recording, but she has had, since we did the past life regression, she has had a near-death experience, and I asked her if she would be happy to come on the show and talk to everybody about it, and she has agreed. So at some point when we're ready to bring people on, I'm definitely going to get her on, because she so kindly agreed to share what is a very personal experience, but she said, you know, like, she wants to get this information out there as well, and how wonderful to have someone who has actually experienced it, rather than me, who's just a research nerd who just is talking from my research. So stay tuned for that one. Look out for that one. And there's a bit of a twist to that story as well. We're going to have a really interesting conversation with her, because it just so happens that in her past life regression, which happened before her near-death experience, she had a near-death experience. Wow. And I don't remember an awful lot of my past life sessions, because they're very heavy, and I think my memory just gets wiped because it's just a lot of information. But hers is one of the ones that I do remember very vividly. So we're obviously meant to talk about this. Everything happens for a reason. It's kind of done a 360 for her. She's had her life's changed in so many ways for the better. So she is another testament to just show you the power of NDEs, and more importantly, I suppose, the power of understanding and acknowledging this unseen world that we live in, and the bigger picture of who we are and our consciousness, and what happens when we leave this kind of play that we call life right now.
Beautiful.
Thanks. Rounded that off.
I'm mesmerised.
Right. Okay. So, as always, thank you to everybody for listening. This is a long one. We've nearly hit the hour mark. We're just about to hit the hour mark. I think it's our longest one yet. Come over, join us in our Facebook group. We are taking requests. We'd love to hear what you would like for us to talk about. And it can be specific as well, like something really, really specific, maybe something that's going on in your life that you're struggling with, and you'd like to know, like, how you could deal with it coming at like a psychology point of view, and obviously the subconscious mind stuff that I do in my work, but also using like the kind of spirituality viewpoint and as well, just to help you kind of get through the situation feeling the most empowered and positive that you can. So please do let us know. We would really enjoy doing that, I think. Don't forget, if you like the podcast, if you haven't done so already, please, we'd be so grateful if you could rate or review the show. Just then it bumps us up and more people can find us and listen to our good stuff. Okay, everybody, I'm gonna go now. Take care.
Bye.
See you next time. Bye.